Yeah, we played our first show in about March of last year.
What got you together?
We all sort of been friends for a little while. We've all been into sort of improvisational music, I guess, and jamming in a, what was known as Annie Street Warehouse in Wickham, in Newcastle, where Nick lived.
Oh yeah, we got a big thing. He's dead.
And we sort of just started jamming there over a weekend, and our first show was just as we didn't play as anything, just no name.
Yeah, they needed to fill a spot basically, sort of. So yeah.
What exactly brought you together though to play what you're playing now? I mean, apart from the fact that you guys were friends.
Well, a lot of it. I've been in another sort of improv band called Crab Smasher, so it's kind of doing a similar sort of thing. Yeah, and we're just sort of fans of it, so I guess.
Yeah.
And go on.
I guess my background is that I've been into sort of like heavier music, and I just loved the free, I guess, element of what we do and how we do it. You know, it's the nature of, I guess, like experimental music is that experiments sometimes work and sometimes they don't. So
yeah, it's not fun. You know, it's always hit and miss. Sometimes you go and you're like, oh, that's really boring.
Yes, I noticed in the set that you played before it seemed to me there was a slight lull, but you guys were so in sync with each other. Is that due to the friendships that you've had?
I don't know,
or are you just in sync when you're playing?
I don't know. Like it's sort of like you know yourself. Like you play this sort of like you've been in bands and stuff like that. You'd sort of know how to sort of latch on to something, and you know what to do and what not to do at certain times. I don't think it's like the most difficult thing in the world to
but it does take the right ingredients, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael and I actually live in the same house, so we do jam a fair bit, and I guess that's where that melding element comes from. And we don't ever sort of go out with, well, we do sometimes go out with no idea about what we're going to do.
Yeah, always is like some sort of not like it's not composed in any shape or form, but there's always like some sort of we don't do this. You know, just.
So what is the structure then that you have? Do you have any sort of set ideas?
There's
or
usually a starting structure, point, and then like I think once it starts, everyone sort of knows like how to listen and what to do. It's, I was already playing guitar, and I like it. It's just it's familiar to me. Like you know, like it'd be the same if you had like a whole table of pedals. You know what they all do, and it'd be if I'm sort of not used to it, so I wouldn't know how to control it. If you know.
Are you a guitarist then, or
not as such. Like I've only been playing guitar for a couple of years now. Like, but it's just like any sort of way to make sound. It's just something where you're used to it and you know how to make it do something. You know.
And with the pedals then, or previously were you just sort of?
I started playing in bands before I could even play guitar. Well, before I even owned a guitar. So it's just gone up from nothing.
And how did you folks discover the use of the effects that you're using? Was this because you listened to other noise projects, or that this was just a trial and experimentation thing?
I guess I listened to a lot of like what could be dubbed as noise, like artists like John Weiss and people like that, and he uses a lot. I used to use a laptop, but I've since just gone to pedals and drum machines.
Ah, okay. Like is there a reason for that?
I don't know. It was just things sort of started sounding a bit samey for me, and I like, because we've only been together for a year and we've already sort of like, I guess, our sound has moved so far from where it started out as sort of more, how would you describe it? Ambient almost.
Well,
like
yeah, at times.
Lo-fi, drony stuff.
I always go for like an element, like just really sort of twisted, psychedelic sort of sound is just something that's kind of engaging and something that will get someone like.
Is this a long-term project for you folks?
Yeah, I think it's evolved into a long-term project now. From where it just started out as a collaboration piece between the sort of three of us, sort of coming from different backgrounds, and I think now we've been. This is the second time we've been in Melbourne. Last time we just played 2 shows, but it just seems that to me that people are enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing it. Everyone else is enjoying doing it. So
you've had pretty good reaction so far?
Yeah. Had a lot of help from a guy called Sean Prescott, who writes reviews for Psychedelic Defrost magazine and Mess and Noise. I don't know if they still do a published issue or if it's just online. But he's reviewed some of that stuff.
I was talking to you folks too about Newcastle too. What have you got to say about any kind of scene or any kind of movement that's happening in Newcastle?
I wouldn't say movement. I'd just say like there's a bunch of individuals doing what they want to do. I wouldn't say it's like any group of people going in a direction. I think there's like good things coming out of Newcastle, but just not a lot of interest in it. So it's just, I suppose, like any place where there's not a huge population.
Do you feel isolated?
Not really.
Because we're close to Sydney.
Pretty close proximity to Sydney. Yeah. And we probably play we actually do play in Sydney more than we play in Newcastle. And being, I guess, coming from a small town, it's also a small town. I don't know what, 400,000 people.
It's pretty much the biggest city in New South Wales.
Apart from Sydney.
Yeah. Well, it's bigger than Sydney, but not as many people.
Geographically.
Yeah.
But I guess I've heard so many people say all the best stuff comes from small towns, from outside the metropolitan areas.
Do you believe that?
I don't know. Like, you'd have to have heard everything.
Is there a noise scene in Newcastle? Are there more people?
There's castings who are pretty much based, like, I'd say, they live in Newcastle. A lot of them live in Newcastle, but it's pretty much all Sydney. So there's castings, and there's various other people, like Luke Hoskins, who does various noise things. It's not big by any stretch of the imagination.
Like if you come to Newcastle, chances are you can pick the same 3 bands that you play with.
Yeah.
But we have lots of fun. Like there's a venue called the Croatian Club, which is in a suburb called Wickham, and it's like a scout hall with a bar in it essentially, and it's great. Parvo lets us put on shows there. There's a vocal PA there, and it's just lots of fun. Doesn't matter how many people there, it still looks empty, but it's just fun. I guess what we could say is we all sort of draw from different elements, different artists.
Yeah, everyone's got like a wildly different taste in music. Not that it clashes so much, like, because everyone's sort of open to what everyone else listens to.
So you're just going with what you're doing?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just like Nick and I can sit there and listen to free jazz records where Michael wouldn't have any bar in that. But we all have this like middle ground, but it's not exactly a circle. It's you can't draw any lines in the sand.